everybody, it's Stewart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the third week of June 2015 and Father's Day week. Not just the day, but the whole week.
The whole week. In fact, this is the whole week of our webinar.
I know, and
we have a few places left. If you have father issues, if you have a father, most likely you have father issues.
And they've been sending in their issues, holy cannolis.
Oh, I know, they've been pages and pages. They're a lot worse than mother issues.
I'm going to institutionalize some of them, I think.
Well, they're worse than the mother's issues.
I'll tell you what.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, because no one had his father as good as me. So
that's
unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, how true.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting news.
I have interesting news too.
Oh yeah, I think mine are a little more interesting.
We'll find out.
And I address this to all of you in Canada.
So you're wearing a dress?
Excuse me, but you could be Caitlyn Jenner.
I'm not.
You could be.
You said I'm wearing a dress to all of you.
Because you kind of look like her a little.
You said
You
said I'm wearing a dress. I heard you.
Or maybe I'm you and you're me.
Maybe.
That could be.
We could have one of those head transplants, and who would know?
But mine is a prettier head, so.
You're the lucky one, what can I say?
I truly. Anyway, this is serious, because at the end of May, Canada passed a law called Bill C-24.
I have that in my news.
Yes, but we'll talk about it. And it really undermines Canadian citizenship because it creates a two-tier system. And as a result of this new law, dual citizens and people who have immigrated to Canada can have their citizenship revoked. Because, and by the way, thankfully, some Canadians are protesting. Now, come on, there's 35 million of you and only 95,000 have protested this law. That's not very good. But this bill says that anyone who holds or who is eligible for another citizenship could be vulnerable to citizenship stripping if they commit offenses or prohibited conduct referred to in the bill. But it says, and this is a very angry person who wrote in, we do not need to throw Canada back to the Dark Ages and revive the medieval practice of banishment as a way of punishing people.
That's an interesting quote.
And it says, what's to stop this law being used against others in the future? Because misinformation is being used to justify these changes. The law says that some Canadians who have no other citizenship and no eligibility for citizenship elsewhere are Canadians forever. Oh, Canada. Yes. However, other Canadians, including dual citizens, and most of Canada is,
or immigrants,
who have Canadian citizenship and the citizenship of another country at the same time, could possibly have their citizenship taken away even if they were born in Canada. So being born there, no safety.
It says they may have never, I have some from my notes, they may never have set foot in the other country.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Or even be aware
that they could have.
That they're eligible for citizenship in another country.
But here, listen, under international law, Canada can't take away someone's citizenship if it would leave them stateless, meaning that they have no citizenship or access to citizenship in any country. But Canadians, even those born in Canada, who are eligible to acquire the citizenship of another country, could have their citizenship removed. And again, they may never have set foot in the other country or be eligible for citizenship in another country, and they could have it removed. It also says if you are eligible to apply does not mean that the other country will give it to you.
Right.
But for the purpose of this law, just being eligible means they could take your citizenship away.
That's right.
Can you imagine? So in fact, someone in this situation who had their Canadian citizenship stripped could wind up stateless.
Right. And it also says legal experts are worried that the list of offenses that could lead to the removal of citizenship
will expand
in the future.
Right. Now it gets even worse because from now on, new Canadians will have to promise that they intend to reside in Canada as a precondition of obtaining citizenship. And failing to reside in Canada after citizenship is granted could mean that the government will consider that you have lied on your application for citizenship.
Is that a felony?
Well, it means they throw you out, or throw you out, as they say in Canada. So new Canadians who move to another country let's say, to visit a dying relative, or to live with their children, or to open a business or go to school, could have their citizenship revoked.
And I also think this is a test case for other countries.
Exactly.
And again, so that they can start shifting people around the way that they want to. And also to add to the confusion. Again, what's a Canadian, what's not a Canadian? So I think confusion is one of the main factors that is being bombarded on the planet at this time.
And not only that, but it doesn't stop there, because citizenship can be revoked for criminal convictions or similar offenses that occur outside of Canada, regardless of whether the regime or judicial system under which the person was convicted is undemocratic or lacks the rule of law. So let's say a North Korean comes there, and then they find out that he was convicted in North Korea, and that's why he left. Well, they can strip him of his citizenship.
And send him back to North Korea.
Exactly. Or he'll be stateless. And for example, it uses an example, the bill could be used to strip a citizen or journalist who is convicted of terrorism offense without a fair court process in another country, when their crime was just actually reporting on human rights violations.
Yeah.
They could be thrown out of Canada and stripped of citizenship.
That's what I said. I think this is a test for other things in other countries.
Yeah, you know what?
Just the beginning.
Canada has gone downhill fast.
Just the
it
beginning.
used to be a really, really nice place, and now it's like North Korea. Very bad. Very sad, oh Canada. Better do something about it. Need more than 95,000 people to protest this. How about all 35 million of you? Because pretty soon, only those 95,000 will be left, and the rest will be thrown out. Can you imagine? Boat people from Canada. Very scary. Now, to the very serious and disturbing news that happened this week in South Carolina, where this white boy, he's not a man, he's a boy, 21, named Dylan Roof, or Ruff, as you would say, created a manifesto online, and then he shot 9 black people in a church in South Carolina. He said black people are stupid and violent. He killed them, but they're violent. And he wanted to turn every Jew a blue color for 24 hours so they could be identified.
And how is he going to
He
do
sounds
that?
like a bright kid. Now,
Sounds
he
like
also has a website which he calls The Last Rhodesian. Now, of course, Rhodesia was a country in Africa that is now called Zimbabwe. And he includes rants against black people. He predicts a racial war. He says that East Asians could be allies, and some, because they're racist, and some South Americans are worth saving. And he says that Jews count as whites, but he wants to destroy the Jewish identity. So, again, not a very bright young man.
Well, he's a very programmed young man.
But here it gets a little more interesting, because on his website there's a bunch of photographs that show him pointing a gun at the camera, posing with a Confederate flag and burning the American flag, see? And also he was spitting on the American flag. Now, he says in his manifesto on the internet that he's calling for a new civil war in America before he starts. Now, what did I tell people? I told you people that there was going to be a civil war in the United States in 2016, and where did I say it was going to start?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Hello, here it is.
Well, I have news about that too, so before you leave this subject, I want to talk about
But then there's
it as
something
well.
very interesting, because there's a picture of him on the beach in South Carolina, and in the sand he wrote 1488. Now, that has Nazi origins, which I think most people aren't aware of, because the number refers to a 14-word supremacist slogan, which says, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children." And this was from Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, a word group of passage that was 88 words long, so that's why it's 1488. And of course, many of this kid's friends said that not long before the attacks that he was doing racist rants and wanted to create a civil war in the United States. So,
All right, so is that what you have on that? Because I have
on that, yeah,
okay.
I just have one more story.
Now I want to add to that while we're there, because now, I don't know if you've heard, but there is now a movement to pull down the Confederate flag from South Carolina's capital. Have
Yeah,
you heard
because it
about
has,
that? They're saying that Jeb Bush and President Obama have said it belongs in a museum. Mitt Romney tweeted appeal for South Carolina to remove the flag and that hundreds of people have been staging protests, and they have a petition that's garnered over 300,000 signatures. So apparently, nothing's happening, but they're trying to start something. And then on the heels of that, which is something I mentioned to you, I was reading that there is now a new Marvel movie coming out in May 2016 called Captain America: Civil War.
Interesting.
So I thought, yes, that was very interesting. And then do you have in there about the ex-NAACP leader? Okay, because I just wanted to briefly address that as well, because I think this is all part of...
the NAACP.
Yeah, NAACP leader in Spokane, Washington.
Your homeland.
Yes, who identified as a black woman, and even though she's white, and her parents and adopted brother have been saying that she's, obviously not black, but she's changed her appearance beginning in 2011, according to the brother. She used makeup to cover her skin tone, she changed her hairstyle, and then it said more than a decade ago that she actually tried to pose as African American when she applied for admission to the historically black college in the nation's capital, Howard University.
Right, and they refused her.
They refused her. Apparently then she brought...
She sued them.
She sued them, but she enlisted that she was being denied a teaching position because she was white. So anyway, then in her admissions essay, again she described her family as transracial, and so on and so forth, and the family denies all of that.
Right, then she has adopted brothers who are black.
But the issue here is, and I'm going to just tie this in with the confusion, because again, the transgender, the gender identity issues, now it's race identity.
It's everything identity.
That's right, so it's confusion. And this is one thing that somebody had said on my trip when I was up in the Waldensian territory. They said if they can't control you, then confuse them. And so here we are. First of all, okay, people are saying I'm not sure if I'm male or female. Now that's okay. Now I'm wondering if when people say, well, I identify as black, if they're going to say, oh, well, then you can be black. I mean, how much and how far is this going to go?
I think it's the Michael Jackson syndrome.
It could be. And I think that's still leading to this civil unrest we're talking about. Because when people don't know who they are and they don't have an identity, they don't have any center, they don't have any place to hang on to, they don't have any place to go, they're, again, much more easily led or misled, as the case should be. So I wanted to bring that to forefront. So go ahead with yours.
Well, speaking of mind control and programming, which that is about, a very interesting, humorous, but not so humorous thing happened in Washington yesterday on Capitol Hill, where mysteriously 15,000 honeybees swarmed the main Senate entrance in the U.S. Capitol building, frightening everybody. And then they looked for volunteer beekeepers to capture the queen and her thousands of offspring. Capture the queen, that's like what they did on Star Trek with the Borg, the queen, capture the queen and all her, my hive mind, like hello, it's like a Star Trek novel. The queen bee apparently left the nest in search of a new and larger home, and all the bees followed her. Now this is funny, because the U.S. Capitol police officers used a large automatic rifle to protect them, the people from the bees, but they said that it wasn't going to help him against them, that he was using a rifle against bees. Brilliant.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
That's really brilliant. Wouldn't you feel safe by those people protecting you?
But
here's what the beekeepers said. The beekeepers explained to the officers that no one risked getting stung because when bees leave their nest in search of another one, they fill up with honey first so they can survive the journey. And once they're packed with honey, they're unlikely to sting. Now, is that true? You lived in the farm.
But I never raised bees, so I don't know. I never heard that, so I can't say if it's true or false.
Well, I never heard of such a thing. But the whole thing at the U.S. Capitol, hive mentality.
Yeah, and capture the queen. That's very good. All right, so on the heels of that, I wanted to bring up the Pope. As you know, I like to
bring up the Pope.
I talk about the Pope quite a bit. Isn't today he's in Italy, in Torino?
In Torino.
That's right, and he's going to be addressing the Waldensian people up there. So there's a lot of controversy. I'll be interested to hear what he has to say about that, because they are a little bit up in arms about it. Anyway, he is now urging a revolution to save the earth and fix the perverse economy. This I thought was so, I'll call it rich and And anyway, it says he's calling for a bold cultural revolution to correct what he calls, quote, the structurally perverse economic system of the rich exploiting the poor.
Really?
That is turning Earth into an immense pile of filth.
Well, why don't he start by selling the gazillions of dollars worth of Vatican-owned, Catholic-owned real estate and give that to the poor?
And just that staff that he carries alone, that solid gold, would feed how many families?
Yeah, why don't we start with that?
And his crowns and his robes. I mean, it's just so rich here. And then it says sweeping manifesto aimed at spurring action. Now get this one, in UN climate negotiations. Because he claims that it's an unfair fossil fuel-based industrial model that harms the poor the most. He cites scripture and past popes and bishops' appeals urging people of all faiths, and get this, no faith. Remember now, he's including everybody, no faith, to undergo an awakening to save God's creation for future generations. This vision of might is right has engendered immense inequality and injustice and acts of violence against the majority of humanity. It's like the Catholic Church has perpetuated so much violence.
And poverty.
And poverty.
And violence.
That's right. He says,
and now he wants to clean up.
Yeah, and he says the winner takes all in the current model, and this is at odds with the model of ideals of harmony, justice, fraternity, and peace as proposed by Jesus. So where was the Catholic Church when they were killing,
if Jesus
raping,
saw what the church was doing,
torturing? Yes. Now, he's saying that there is no distinction between human beings, their faith, and their environment. That's all one now. And now, I remember I reported a couple weeks ago about that article that Jeffrey Sachs wrote about climate change when the Pope speaks in front of the UN September 23rd. He's supposed to be talking about how climate change is ruining everything and how Americans are too independent and expect too much. So anyway, the Pope goes on to say everything is related. We human beings are united as brothers and sisters on a wonderful pilgrimage woven together by the love God has for each of his creatures. Listen to this one, which also unites us in fond affection with brother sun, sister moon, brother river, and mother earth. Now doesn't that sound ritualistic?
I think he's lost his little pope head.
That sounds very ritualistic and setting people up for the New World religion. And he talks about the earth, our home, is beginning to look more like an immense pile of filth.
Did he call it Mother Earth? What did he call it?
He called it Mother Earth. Brother River.
Sister Moon.
Brother Sun, Sister Moon, Brother River, Mother Earth.
Oh, he didn't say Father Son.
He did not say that because he's the Father.
Right.
He's the Holy Father, but brother. Okay, now he says he's praising a less is more lifestyle that he is known for, which I haven't seen that. And some say the Argentine Pope is pushing what they call Latin America-style socialism. And he said, no, it was not a sign of communism to care for the poor. Is he inviting him in the churches and feeding them?
Is he selling the buildings so that they can get the money for it?
That's just absolutely amazing. And then conservative Catholics are saying, why is the Pope putting emphasis on environment and climate change and not issues such as abortion and marriage? So I thought that was extremely interesting, and we must watch the Pope in these upcoming months in the Shemitah years we talked about in our prophecy webinar. If you haven't seen that one, you need to do that. Now also it says that there are new chips that are going into credit cards which are putting the squeeze on small business. Businesses of all sizes face an October 1st deadline to get new card readers, and this can cost small business from the low hundreds to tens of thousands of dollars due to the wide range of equipment used. Now, we have talked about for a long time how, yes, you can be in small business, and we're a small business, but people don't realize how expensive it is to be a small business and all the taxes and things we pay that the ordinary person doesn't. So I feel for these people in small business who are having to go through this. Since most of ours is internet-based, we usually don't have to deal with the card readers. We won't have to go through that, but a lot of people will. All right, then, have you been reading about the military doctor, John Henry Hagman, who has been taken to task over his extreme training methods? Well, apparently, he's been doing this for the past 10 years under a company called Deployment Medicine International, or DMI. Now, the Virginia Board of Medicine is going to take a look at whether or not to suspend his license. But what's interesting is that the military has known about these methods and has left it. Let me see. There's a U.S. Armed Services Committee Representative, Hank Johnson. He's a Democrat from Georgia. He's calling him a renegade contractor and likened him to a diabolical mad scientist at work in a horror movie. And as we know, once you join the military, your body actually becomes property of the military. I don't know if most people out there know that, but they can do with you whatever they want.
That's right.
So anyway, their board is saying, this is the medical board, is saying that in 2012 and 2013, Hagman induced shock by withdrawing the blood of students, provided trainees with hypnotic drug called ketamine, never heard of it, performed penile nerve blocks, instructed troops to insert catheters into one another's genitals, and he's accused of conducting rectal exams for his own sexual gratification. He dismissed critics as administrators who are more concerned with political correctness and skewed publicity. There were no patients, no physician-patient relationships involved, only students undergoing training. Now what's interesting, as this continues to build, is that many of you may have heard of the author David Morehouse, who wrote the book Psychic Warrior, the true story of the CIA's paranormal espionage program. David Morehouse was actually the DMI's vice president for operations from 2005 to 2011. And of course, he is now speaking against this man, but I found the tie very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So I think this is a story to watch about what's going on in the government. Now, speaking of the military, there is now a former Marine who's opening up a cuddling business. Now, this is called Tender Embrace. They want to locate in Columbia, Ohio, because they say it hosts a number of corporate headquarters and business-oriented people. Now, like, these are the people who are going to want to go do a cuddle business, right? But anyway, he said that that means there'll be a lot of people to attend his
Cuddling.
He says a poll taken by CBS DC is currently showing that 25% of its readers would pay to cuddle with a stranger. Do you believe that?
No.
15% are unsure. And so this gentleman says to me it shows that 1 out of 4 people are lonely or just want to be held. So on their website called Tender Embrace, they have a Q&A section. And so they talk about what people should wear to cuddle sessions, such as loose clothing, and how to handle, quote, natural reactions.
Let me see if I know what that means.
Such as change position. All right, then, if you want to cuddle, 30 minutes will cost you $40, 2 hours, $110.
Wow, that's cheap.
A double cuddle, which 2 people cuddle the client, is $120. And if you want an overnight cuddle, which includes a movie and television, $500.
Holy cannolis.
There's a 10% discount for first responders and military personnel, because I'm sure they're going to be the first to sign up.
Yeah, cuddle in uniform.
Yeah, so the interesting thing, again, like we've been talking about open sex and how to have people have all that, this is a precursor. So I want people to be aware.
I cuddle people for half that price.
Yeah, you'll cuddle people for free.
Well, now that he's a business, I have to charge.
Yeah, well, anyway, point being is, this is again leading to what we've been talking about. So this isn't the first time I've heard of it, but they keep bringing this up, which means more and more people will do it, and it will become continually more accepted.
Do you remember a few years ago there was that Indian woman who used to go on tours and just hug people, and, and she wound up in a mental institution?
Yeah. Okay, now listen to
You're
this
pulling all
one.
those crazy people's energy.
Okay, so that's right. Speaking of pulling, did you hear about writer Cormac McCarthy's ex-wife?
No.
She pulled a pistol from her vagina and threatened her boyfriend.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
How'd she get it up there?
That's what I was going to say. How did she get it up there? Anyway, apparently she was having an argument with the boyfriend about space aliens. Then she went to her, this all is again bizarre, went to her bedroom, changed into her lingerie, performed a sex act with a gun. Then she said, "Who's crazy, you or me?" pulled the gun out and threatened her boyfriend, who then threw it into the toilet. So again, where people get these ideas.
You can't make this up.
No, I think they're trying to, again, imprint people with these ideas because all of it is crazy. And then there was the...
Talk about a pistol packing mama.
I guess. Then there was, I kind of mentioned the transgender issue, which of course, as we know, is not going to go away. That's here to stay. But there was a woman who was happy that her 9-year-old transgender son is going to go back to school in the fall dressed as a girl wearing a wig.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, you saw that one? Okay, now the thing that was interesting to me is
It was Janet's story.
Well, he's 9. But they're going to wait until he's 11 to see if his decision is a lasting choice.
Meanwhile, they're going to put a wig on him and dress him like a girl.
And
Gee, that'll help.
So, point being is, again, confusion. So, and this is the story which I reported on in Virginia about there's no boy, no, there's no girl anymore. That's really going all over the internet now. And then there's a woman. Now again, this sounds like a made-up story, and again, I think this is a way to divide people. As a woman was criticized by her Christian neighbors for having a relentlessly gay garden.
There's such a thing as a gay garden?
She had some rainbow colored glass jars in her strung up in her garden. So she got a note that supposedly read, "Dear resident, your yard is becoming relentlessly gay. Myself and others in the neighborhood ask that you tone it down. This is a Christian area and there are children. Keep it up and I will be forced to call police on you. Your kind need to have respect for God." So now the woman is having a crowdfunding. But again, I don't believe really any of it. I think this is a setup to try to divide people.
So if you have multicolored glass jars in your garden, it's a gay garden?
They're going to call you gay, and then they're going to send you nasty notes, and then you're going to have crowdfunding. It's interesting. I'm just going to tell people this. It wasn't too long ago, I was doing some research about something, and our names happened to come up on the internet. And
Gee, how unusual.
Unusual, and it was not flattering remarks.
Again, how unusual.
So, I decided, well, let me write to the owner of this website and see if he'll take it down. So he said, well, the freedom of speech means that you can say everything you want against this. I said, well, that's, hate begets hate. I'm not going to feed these people with more things to play off of. But that's how you keep things alive. The more energy you put into it, the more you talk about it, the more it grows. So I said, I'm not going to put anything on your site. And he said, well, you can't censor my site. I said, I'm not trying to censor your site. But you want hate stuff up there, and that tells me where this person's coming from. The point being is when you see things like this is to instill hate, it's to instill division.
And that person, by the way, was a member of a religion that if you say one little thing against them, they put it all over the newspaper and that you're anti-something.
Right.
So
So
the guy's going to get what's coming to him.
That's right. People will get what they give out. If he's hosting that will come back to him. But I'm telling you again, don't buy into this stuff because it is about division, and it's about making you confused. You don't know who you are. Find out who you are. That's what we teach you. Anyway, going on to blood. Blood. Is young blood the secret to eternal youth? Now, apparently, they were saying that young blood, there's a study published in Nature Communications, found that young blood could heal broken bones and enabled scientists to conjoin the circulatory systems of pairs of mice. However, there was one molecule that was thought to be the fountain of youth, but now they're finding another molecule. And the reason I bring that up is because we have continually been talking about and reading in the news how blood will rejuvenate people, including the vampire facials we read about. And so now, apparently, that they're proving that young blood can mend old broken bones. And also they did a study, now this is interesting, October 2014, we're going on, well, I guess only a year. Researchers at Stanford University gave transfusions of blood plasma donated by people under 30 to older volunteers with mild to moderate Alzheimer's. So we don't have the results yet, but they're still talking about blood as a rejuvenator.
We should eat young people.
That's what it's going to get to, like we've talked about even in China.
The Chinese have been doing that.
Yes, they eat the aborted fetuses.
And the ancient Egyptians did that.
Yeah, and some people say Illuminati. Anyway, the traditional concept is that as you get older, your bone cells kind of wear out so they can't heal. And we thought we'd find that during this study, but it turns out it's not the bone cells, it's the blood cells. So as you get older, the blood cells change the way they behave when you have an injury, and as a result, the cells that heal bone aren't able to work as efficiently. If you do our mental work and you clean out your body, your blood will stay young and healthy.
Right.
Now, this is something else you especially were talking about, artificial blood. It says real life, true blood might be used in trial transfusions by 2016, which of course means they've already been doing it. A team in Scotland made the first artificial blood that they say is suitable for transfusion into a human body. It has application in hospital settings where it would be plentiful, affordable, and disease-free.
They have it already.
Of course. The blood can be manufactured to be exclusively type O, which is the universal donor. And this way, doctors won't have to deal with sorting out different types for different patients.
I already have that. So.
And while donated blood has a hodgepodge of young and old cells, here we go back with the young and old cells, manufactured blood can contain only new cells. So you don't want blood, you want this product, right? And of course, we have reported more than once that the coconut, the water in that is also the equivalent to
blood plasma.
blood plasma, and that used to be used during the wars when there was a blood shortage.
Transfusion.
That's right. So we don't really need this kind of thing. We can use coconuts.
Drink coconut water and eat chlorella.
Yeah, so you can do
There's
that
your blood
well to
transfusion.
help yourself get healthy. And then my last story is about the Royal Lodge, and apparently located at Windsor Castle, was last night used as a background setting for Princess Eugenie's 25th birthday party. I thought this is very interesting for a variety of reasons. First of all, her birthday was in March. Well, it didn't give the day. I'm sure we can find that out.
So they only had the party now?
They had the party now, and the other,
Eugenie. Whatever.
And the interesting thing is June 21 is Prince William's 33rd birthday. We haven't heard a thing about that, but here we are celebrating her birthday.
Maybe they're too busy eating babies and blood.
Anyway, what was interesting is Disney themed, and so everybody came dressed as Disney characters.
That's not too programmed.
And Princess Eugenie came dressed as Snow White and was accompanied by 7 dwarves hired especially for the occasion.
Okay, a little politically correct there.
Yep, and she wrote on the invitation that no one else was allowed to come as Snow White because she was coming
And
as
no
Snow
one could bring a
White.
dwarf.
And they showed pictures. You have to go look at this
I shall have the royal dwarf. Enter now.
Because they have Guy Pelly, who owns a club, who's some kind of a club owner. He and an old friend of the royals turned up wearing what looked like a furry onesie. They have people dressed as the Queen of Hearts, all kinds of things, and these big limos coming to this party, all dressed up.
Not too ritualistic there.
So some things, going on.
You think?
Probably still going on. And I thought it was very interesting. So now it'll be interesting to see what they do for Prince William's birthday. But this is her birthday.
I'm sure we won't be invited.
I doubt we'll be invited, but very interesting.
We should send a gift anyway. Maybe some baby blood.
There you go. Well, they have Princess Charles, or whatever, Princess Charlotte and Prince George. And by the way, I was reading a magazine, a People magazine, and it showed pictures that supposedly Princess Kate had taken. I don't think so.
The what?
Princess Kate had taken of the babies. I said, I don't think so.
She doesn't know how to use a camera.
So I don't think so.
She just knows how to be,
Well, I'm sure she's programmed and trained, just like the rest of them are.
She can't think.
So we have activities that are coming up soon.
Very soon.
We have
like this week.
Our Father-Son, S-O-N-S-U-N.
Oh, we must now call it Brother Son.
Maybe so. Because
Sorry, Pope.
Yeah.
It's a Brother Son.
It's a Brother Son webinar, so you don't want to miss that if you have
We
mail
should call it
mail
Father,
issues.
Pope, Brother, Son.
There you go. Okay, then.
Then, guess what I'm doing this week?
What?
I am filming a TV show for History Channel.
Wow.
But I'm not allowed to say what for.
Okay.
Because then they could sue me.
All right, because you had to sign
Yeah,
things,
I had
right?
to sign things. Like
So you
forever.
think they're going to make fun of you?
No, it's a very serious show.
It is?
Yes, and it could lead to a series.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Maybe Emmy for me. Maybe.
maybe.
And then I'm also filming a TV pilot, but I really don't know what that's
That's
about.
an interview.
Yeah, but it's for TV.
That's a secret. That's a secret too. We can't talk
Yeah,
about.
but I don't even know what it's about.
Well, I do.
Yeah, and then of course I have a lot of radio shows this
Yeah,
week.
yeah. Well, that are being pre-recorded. So watch the website and Facebook. We'll post when those are up.
And then of course our radionics seminar in August.
Yes.
It's really filled up now, isn't it?
It's growing very quickly.
Oh, is there room for anyone?
Well, the issue even beyond that is getting their sign up so they can get their boxes made.
Right.
And we heard they just got a new shipment of crystals in, and he said they're amazing. So I'm
Oh,
excited.
good. Oh, good. That's good to know.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Then,
And you want me to do it?
what do you want to do?
Well, then August 28th to September 3rd, I'll be in London. Seminar. It's on the website.
And we also have a couple of other webinars coming up. We have one, I think it's interdimensional
I don't know.
in August,
Oh, yeah?
and one on Green Star programming. So
Oh,
again,
how am I going to do all that?
you're going to be busy. So check the website for the webinar schedule because we have some interesting ones coming up this summer. So that's, I think maybe one in July and one in August if I remember.
So from August to through almost the whole month of September,
You're busy.
I'll be in London, Kaprash, Poland, Trier, Germany, Istanbul, Amman, and Qatar.
Ah,
I love to say that, Qatar.
yeah. So and then in October.
And then in October, in Poland, I'll be, well, actually first in
Don't we have our seminar before you go anywhere?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we have our seminar, Hidden Histories and Mysteries, Digging Deeper. We have Mary Sutherland from Burlington, Wisconsin. We just received notice from Dr. Samir Osmanovich that he was not able to make our conference, so she actually has a person that we're talking to now has got some very interesting information on the Magdalene lineage. So we may be
A lot of
asking
information, yeah.
him to take the place. And then with this little bit of change, because I just got back from Italy, I'm very excited about being in the Power Mountains. In summer of 2016, I'm really seriously considering taking a small group. I don't think it's going to be large.
Can I go too?
Maybe. A small group back to the Waldenton Valleys because I have some more exploration that I want to do, and for those who want to go to the mountaintop and see Father, Son in person.
Oh, brother, son.
Brother, Son, then come with me in summer 2016.
Brother, son, or BS.
Summer 2016, Waldenton Valleys, Northern Italy. So put that on your calendars, and I'll be coming out with more details about that pretty soon. So that's October. Then you go traveling.
Then I'll be in Poland in October in Warsaw, Wrocław, and Poznan. Then to Berlin. Then at the end of October into November, I'll be in Singapore, and then Bali. And then in the middle of November, something in Milan, the time travel seminar.
That's in
conference. You
Bogonero.
watch your language.
Is that
But
right?
it's near Milan.
Yeah, it's close to Milan.
It's close to Milan.
Yeah, so watch for, we're going to be all over the place. We have a great new European sponsor,
Yeah, she's like...
Speed Star International, so take a look at that, and we have lots of appearances all over. We will be in your locale,
Somewhere.
or you can always come here to the States, so we have lots of things going on.
People are afraid to come to the States.
Why?
Because of the immigration.
Yeah, well, don't be afraid. We travel all the time. And then, in January, remember, is our main class of the year. That's a 7-day,
When is it?
week-long.
What's the month? What's the date?
I don't have the dates written down, but it's on the website, January 2016, and a lot of people actually make arrangements for that early because it's also a small, and also some people like to make payment plans in advance, so when they get here, it's all paid for. So check with Patricia on that, and that's a fantastic class always. So we're scheduled, and we have actually things way into 2016, but we're not going to tell you that yet.
No.
It's too far, too much for your heads.
I can't remember them.
But they're there. So anyway, there's always something exciting happening at expansions.com.
Yeah. So anyway, happy Father's Day week. And
I'll see you on the webinar.
I'll see you on the webinar.
And one of our events, and on our member side of the site as well.
Yeah. So
All right, take
bye for
care.
now. See you next time.
Bye-bye.